On the distant planet of Thraxia, a sense of dread filled the air. The sky, once blue and clear, was now filled with dark, swirling clouds. The peaceful inhabitants of Thraxia, known for their vibrant culture and lush landscapes, were under attack by an alien race called the Zarvoks. These monstrous beings were known for their brute strength and ruthless ways. They raided cities, destroyed homes, and captured anyone who dared to resist. In the heart of Thraxia, a group of leaders gathered in a large hall. Their faces were lined with worry as they discussed their dire situation. The eldest leader, a wise woman named Eldra, stood at the front. "We must send a distress signal," she urged. "If anyone in the galaxy can help us, it is now." The leaders agreed and worked together to send out a powerful signal, hoping it would reach nearby planets and alert others of their plight. They poured their hearts into the message, begging for assistance and promising that they would fight to the end. The signal shot out into space, a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. Light years away on Earth, a group of strong human soldiers was training in a military facility. The air was thick with tension as they engaged in rigorous exercises, showcasing their muscles and strength. These soldiers were not just ordinary humans. They were known for their incredible skills in combat. They were trained to face any challenge head-on, and they prided themselves on their ability to protect the innocent. Sergeant Maya Torres, a fearless leader with an unbreakable spirit, led the group. She had a reputation for never backing down from a fight. As she pushed her team to their limits, they suddenly received a message through their communication devices. It was a distress signal from Thraxia. The soldiers gathered around, their hearts racing as they listened to the plea for help. Maya's eyes widened as she took in the words. "This planet needs us," she said, her voice steady and full of determination. "We can't let them suffer alone. We have to respond!" Her words sparked a fire within the group. They looked at each other, knowing that their training had prepared them for moments like this. Each soldier had a story that drove them to fight, and this call for help resonated deeply within them. One soldier, Private Jake, remembered the stories his grandfather had told him about bravery and honor. Another, Corporal Sarah, thought of her little sister and how she would want someone to stand up for the weak. Without hesitation, they made a bold decision. They would defy the Galactic Council, who often ignored distress calls, and they would head to Thraxia to offer their aid. As they prepared for their mission, they packed their gear and checked their weapons, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. In the Galactic Council chambers, leaders from various alien species debated the situation on Thraxia. Most of them were dismissive, arguing that saving the planet was not worth the resources. "It's too risky," one leader scoffed. "The Zarvoks are powerful. We should focus on protecting our own worlds." Unbeknownst to them, the humans had already made their decision. As they boarded their modified warship, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. They knew the journey ahead would be dangerous, but they were driven by a strong sense of duty. Maya addressed her team one last time before they launched. "This is our chance to show the galaxy what we can do. We fight not just for ourselves, but for those who cannot fight for themselves." With those words, they blasted off into space, leaving Earth behind. As they traveled, they watched the stars twinkle outside their ship. Each soldier felt a mix of hope and determination. They were going to help the people of Thraxia, no matter what it took. The call for help would not go unanswered. As they neared Thraxia, the crew could see the devastation below. Smoke rose from ruined cities, and the cries of the Thraxians echoed in their hearts. They knew the time for action was now. Together, as muscle-bound humans, they were ready to answer the call for help. The galaxy would soon know that when danger arose, these humans would not back down. They were prepared to fight for the innocent and protect those in need. As the human soldiers approached the planet Thraxia, they could see the chaos below. The once vibrant landscapes were now marred by destruction. Smoke billowed from cities and fear hung thick in the air. Maya Torres, the fearless sergeant, stood at the helm of their ship, her heart racing with determination. They had come to help, and now it was time to prepare for battle. Once they landed on Thraxia, the soldiers disembarked, taking in their surroundings. The ground was scorched, and the cries of the Thraxian people echoed in the distance. "We need to move quickly," Maya said, her voice strong. "We have to gather supplies and weapons before we can plan our next steps." The team split into smaller groups to cover more ground. Each soldier was skilled and experienced, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Maya led her group toward a nearby rebel camp, where the Thraxians had gathered to fight back against the Zarvoks. The camp was filled with weary faces, but there was a flicker of hope in their eyes as they saw the humans approach. Maya introduced herself and her team to the Thraxian leader, a tall figure named Garon. His skin was a deep green and his expression was serious. "We have heard of your strength," he said, "but the Zarvoks are ruthless. Are you truly prepared to fight?" Maya nodded, her resolve unwavering. "We have trained for this. We will do whatever it takes to protect your people." Garon studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Very well. We will show you where we keep our weapons and supplies." As they followed Garon, the humans felt the weight of the situation. They were not just fighting for themselves, but for the entire planet of Thraxia. In a nearby tent, the Thraxians unveiled their weapons. The humans examined the tools, some of which were foreign and strange, while others looked familiar. Maya selected a few powerful blasters and handed them to her team. "Remember," she said, "we will need to work together. Our strength is in our teamwork." The soldiers nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. They practiced with the weapons, familiarizing themselves with their new gear and honing their skills. While some soldiers trained, others worked to reinforce the camp's defenses. They built barriers using debris from the surrounding area, creating a stronghold for the rebels and the humans. As they worked, the camaraderie between the Thraxians and humans grew stronger. They laughed and shared stories, bonding over their shared goal of freedom. Private Jake found himself talking to a Thraxian named Lyra, who was skilled in hand-to-hand combat. "Your people fight differently than ours," he said, watching her demonstrate a series of impressive moves. Lyra smiled and replied, "We all have our strengths. Together we can learn from each other." As the sun began to set, Maya gathered her team for a final meeting. They stood in a circle, the glow of the campfire casting shadows on their determined faces. "Tomorrow we will face the Zarvoks," she began. "They may be strong, but we are stronger together. Remember, we fight not just for Thraxia, but for everyone who believes in freedom." The soldiers cheered, their spirits high. They were ready to take on the challenge. Maya could see the fire in their eyes, and she felt proud to lead such brave individuals. They had trained for this moment, and now they were united with the Thraxians, ready to fight side by side. As night fell, the camp settled into an uneasy silence. The soldiers took turns keeping watch, their senses alert. The sound of distant explosions echoed in the air, a reminder of the battle that lay ahead. But in that moment, they felt a sense of camaraderie and strength. In the darkness, Maya looked up at the stars, feeling a deep connection to the universe. She knew that they were not just fighting for Thraxia, but for something greater, a belief in justice and the strength to protect those who could not protect themselves. With renewed determination, the soldiers prepared to face the coming battle. They would stand strong, united in their mission to save Thraxia from the clutches of the Zarvoks. The call for help had brought them together, and they were ready to answer it with everything they had. The first light of dawn broke over the horizon, casting a golden hue on the makeshift camp. Maya Torres woke up to the sounds of rustling and quiet conversations among the Thraxian rebels and her fellow soldiers. Today was the day they would form alliances and solidify their plans against the Zarvoks. The time for hesitation was over. Maya gathered her team, and they prepared for the day ahead. "We need to connect with more groups," she said to her soldiers. "The Thraxians are brave, but they cannot fight the Zarvoks alone. We must find other allies." The soldiers nodded, their resolve stronger than ever. After breakfast, they set out with Garon, the Thraxian leader, to meet representatives from nearby villages. As they walked through the ruins of the city, they saw the scars left by the Zarvoks' attacks. Homes were destroyed, and fear lingered in the eyes of the Thraxian people. But amidst the destruction, there was a glimmer of hope. The soldiers could feel the determination of the Thraxians to reclaim their land. The first stop was a village known as Mornhaven, a small settlement that had managed to stay mostly intact. When they arrived, they were greeted by villagers who had gathered in the central square. The leader of Mornhaven, a tall Thraxian named Asha, stepped forward. Her expression was serious, but her voice held warmth. "You have come to our aid, human soldiers. We appreciate your bravery." Maya stepped forward. "We need your help. The Zarvoks are powerful, but together we can form a united front. We must fight back for the freedom of all Thraxians." Asha listened intently, her eyes scanning the faces of the villagers. After a moment, she spoke again. "We have fought alone for too long. We will join you. Cheers erupted from the crowd. The alliance between the humans and the villagers of Mornhaven was solidified. Maya felt a surge of energy as they began to plan their strategy together. They discussed their strengths and weaknesses, learning from one another as they formed a cohesive battle plan. Next, they traveled to another village called Rockspire, known for its skilled warriors. As they approached, Maya could see the warriors training in the fields. The air was filled with the sounds of clashing weapons and determined shouts. The leader of Rockspire, a muscular Thraxian named Torin, was known for his fierce combat skills. Maya introduced herself and her team once again, explaining their mission. Torin was skeptical at first. "You humans are strong, but can you truly fight the Zarvoks?" he asked, crossing his arms. Maya met his gaze confidently. "We have faced many enemies before. We stand ready to fight alongside you." After a tense moment, Torin nodded. "Very well. If you prove yourselves in battle, we will join your cause." Maya's heart raced at the challenge. This was their chance to show the Thraxians that they were more than just muscle. They were warriors. "Let's have a demonstration," Maya proposed. The soldiers and the warriors from Rockspire gathered in an open area. The humans showcased their skills, executing precise movements and working seamlessly as a team. They demonstrated their combat techniques, agility, and strategic thinking. As the demonstration concluded, the Thraxians erupted in applause. Torin stepped forward, his expression changed from skepticism to respect. "You have shown us your strength. We will join you in this fight against the Zarvoks." With two alliances formed, Maya felt a surge of hope. They returned to the rebel camp where the mood was electric with excitement. The Thraxians shared stories of their bravery, inspiring the human soldiers. Laughter filled the air as they exchanged tales of their victories and losses. That night, as they sat around a campfire, Garen spoke to the united group. "Together we will rise against our enemy. With the strength of the humans and the courage of the Thraxians, we can reclaim our land." Maya looked around at the faces of her team and the Thraxian allies. They were no longer just soldiers from different worlds. They were a united force. As the flames flickered, she felt a bond growing between them all. They were ready to take on the Zarvoks, and they would fight not just for Thraxia, but for each other. With renewed determination, they discussed their final battle plan. They would attack the Zarvoks at dawn, catching them off guard. Everyone was filled with a sense of purpose. They were ready to face their enemy together, united by their shared goal. The soldiers knew that together they would create a force that could not be stopped. The dawn of a new battle was approaching, and they were prepared to fight for their future. Dawn broke over Thraxia, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Maya Torres stood at the front lines, her heart racing with anticipation. Today was the day they would fight the Zarvoks, and the air was thick with tension. All around her, the combined forces of humans and Thraxians were ready, their faces a mix of determination and fear. They knew the stakes were high. This battle would decide the fate of the planet. Maya gathered her soldiers and Thraxian allies for one last briefing. "Today we fight for our freedom," she shouted, her voice rising above the murmurs of the crowd. "Remember what we trained for. Trust each other, and we will prevail." The soldiers raised their weapons, cheering in unison. The sound echoed through the camp, building their confidence. As the sun fully rose, the group moved out, marching toward the Zarvok stronghold. Maya led the way, her eyes scanning the horizon. The path was rocky, and debris littered the ground from previous battles. The closer they got, the more they could see the Zarvok fortress looming in the distance, a dark and menacing structure. When they arrived at the outskirts of the fortress, they paused to assess the situation. Zarvok soldiers were everywhere, patrolling the area. Garen, the Thraxian leader, spoke up. "We need to strike quickly before they realize we are here." Maya nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. They had come too far to turn back now. With a silent signal, the combined forces moved forward. They advanced with stealth, using the cover of rocks and ruins to stay hidden. Maya could feel her heart pounding in her chest as they approached the enemy. Suddenly, one of the Zarvok guards spotted them and shouted an alarm. "Intruders!" The element of surprise was lost, but they had prepared for this moment. Maya shouted, "Charge!" The battle cry rang out, and both humans and Thraxians surged forward. The sound of weapons clashing filled the air as they engaged the Zarvoks. Maya fought fiercely, her blaster in hand. She ducked and rolled, dodging incoming fire. Her team fought alongside her, their training kicking in as they moved in perfect unison. Thraxian warriors displayed their incredible combat skills, leaping into the fray with agility and strength. The humans and Thraxians worked together, covering each other's backs as they fought side by side. In the chaos, Maya spotted Torin battling a group of Zarvoks. She rushed to his side, shooting at the enemies while he swung his massive sword, cutting down foes left and right. "We can't let them regroup," Maya shouted over the noise. Torin nodded, determination etched on his face. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the Zarvoks were relentless. They fought fiercely, but the combined strength of the humans and Thraxians began to turn the tide. Slowly, the enemies started to retreat. Maya felt a surge of hope, but knew they couldn't let their guard down. Suddenly, a powerful Zarvok commander emerged from the fortress, towering over the battlefield. He was heavily armored and wielded a massive weapon. "Fools!" he bellowed. "You think you can defeat us? We are the might of the Zarvok Empire!" Maya's heart sank. This was the enemy leader they had feared. The soldiers looked at each other, realizing they had to face this new threat. Garen stepped forward, his eyes fierce. "We must take him down! Together!" Maya nodded, rallying her soldiers. "Form up! We need to distract him while we attack." The group regrouped, and the humans and Thraxians worked in tandem to create a diversion. Some soldiers drew the commander's attention, while others prepared to strike. As the commander swung his weapon, Maya and Torin seized the opportunity. They charged forward together, aiming for the commander's exposed side. With a well-timed strike, Torin distracted the commander while Maya fired her blaster with precision. The blast hit the commander's armor, staggering him. Seeing their leader falter, the rest of the Zarvoks hesitated. That moment of uncertainty spread through their ranks, and Maya seized the chance. "Now! Push forward!" she shouted, her voice booming above the noise. The soldiers charged with renewed energy, pressing their advantage. With the combined strength of humans and Thraxians, they overwhelmed the Zarvok commander. In a final desperate move, he swung wildly, but Torin dodged and struck a decisive blow. The commander fell to the ground, and a roar of victory erupted from the allied forces. The remaining Zarvoks, seeing their leader defeated, began to flee. Maya looked around at her team, a wave of relief washing over her. They had done it. The battle was won, but more importantly, they had united as one. As the dust settled, Maya felt a sense of pride in her heart. They had fought together and emerged victorious. Thraxia was theirs again, but the fight was far from over. With new allies by their side, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they had answered the call for help, and together, they would continue to stand strong. The battlefield lay quiet as the dust settled, and the sun cast a warm glow over the land. Maya Torres looked around, taking in the sight of her fellow soldiers and Thraxian warriors celebrating their hard-won victory. The cheers and laughter filled the air, echoing across the ruins of the Zarvok fortress. This was a day they would never forget. Maya felt a wave of relief wash over her. They had faced incredible odds and emerged victorious. The Zarvoks had been pushed back, and the people of Thraxia could finally begin to rebuild their lives. But as she watched the celebration, a thought lingered in her mind. This victory was just the beginning. Garen, the Thraxian leader, approached Maya with a smile. "You have done well, human. Your courage and strength have inspired us all." Maya smiled back, grateful for his words. "We couldn't have done it without your people. Together we were stronger." Garen nodded, a glimmer of pride in his eyes. "Now we must plan for the future. The Zarvoks may return, and we need to be ready." Maya agreed. "We should focus on building a united front, not just for defense, but for the prosperity of Thraxia." As the sun began to set, Maya gathered her team and Thraxian leaders to discuss their next steps. They set up a meeting near the remnants of the fortress, where they could strategize and lay the groundwork for their new alliance. Maya stood before the group, her heart pounding with excitement. "Today we fought side by side, and together we won. But we must ensure that our victory leads to a lasting peace. We need to share our resources, our knowledge, and our skills." A Thraxian named Asha, who had joined them from Mornhaven, raised her hand. "What do you suggest? How can we build trust and cooperation between our people?" Maya thought for a moment. "We should create training programs where Thraxians and humans can learn from each other. We can share our combat techniques, and in return, we can learn about your culture and ways of life." The room buzzed with agreement. Torin spoke up. "This is a great idea. By working together, we can become even stronger. We can build a community that stands together against any threat." Encouraged by the enthusiasm in the room, Maya proposed a festival to celebrate their victory and their new alliance. "Let's invite everyone from the villages and create a day of unity," she said. "We can share our stories, our food, and our traditions. This will help us bond and show everyone that we are now one people." The idea was met with applause and cheers. The leaders began to discuss the logistics, from food to activities. It was a time for healing, and Maya could see the excitement in everyone's eyes. As they planned the festival, Maya felt a sense of purpose. This was more than just a victory over the Zarvox, it was the start of something new. The humans and Thraxians had a chance to create a future built on friendship, respect, and strength. The day of the festival arrived, and the atmosphere was electric. Colorful banners decorated the area, and the scent of delicious food filled the air. Villagers from all over Thraxia gathered, eager to celebrate. Maya could hardly contain her excitement as she watched the people come together, united in joy. The festival began with games and competitions that showcased the skills of both humans and Thraxians. Maya participated in a friendly archery contest, laughing as she aimed at the target. Torin, competing beside her, showed off his impressive aim, drawing cheers from the crowd. The spirit of camaraderie was contagious. As the sun began to set, Garen stepped up to address the crowd. "Today we celebrate not just our victory, but our unity. Together, we will build a better Thraxia, one where all are welcome. We will stand together against any future threat." The crowd erupted in applause, their voices ringing out in agreement. Maya felt a swell of pride as she watched the people cheer. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but together they could face any challenge. The festival continued with stories of bravery and resilience, as both humans and Thraxians shared their experiences. Later that evening, as the stars twinkled above, Maya found herself standing beside Torin and Asha. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" she said, her heart full of hope. Torin nodded, a smile on his face. "Yes, and we will face it together," Asha added. "We have shown what we can accomplish when we unite. Our past may have been filled with struggles, but our future is bright." As Maya looked up at the stars, she felt a sense of belonging. They had answered the call for help, and in doing so, they had created something greater than themselves. Thraxia was more than a planet. It was a home filled with promise, friendship, and a shared dream of a peaceful future. Together, they were ready for whatever lay ahead.